everybody. It's good to be back having Sunday school again, isn't it? I hope you watched Miss Kathy last week. And if you did, then you know that we have these fun activity sheets that were in your packets that have activities you can do that relate to the lessons and also fun videos to watch. And today we're going to have another story from the Old Testament, the first book of the Bible, Genesis. But before we start, I want to welcome everyone back and also welcome those of you who are new. I'm Miss Mary, and I want to say hello to the people I think might be watching. And if I forget anyone or don't know, send us a note so we can say hello to you and include you next time. Hello to Jaden and to Jaron. Happy birthday to Lucy. And hello to Rosie and Penny. Hi, Gabe, and Emmalyn, and Cam with his new awesome haircut, and Brittany, and Ashley, and Olivia, and Kaylee, and hopefully Ellie's watching us too. And anyone else, please send us your names. And as Miss Kathy suggested last week, send us any pictures you draw or stories you write. You may have some good things to send in after today's lesson. Today's lesson comes from the same beautiful, awesome Bible, Growing in God's Love, and growing is the word that really relates to today's lesson, because today's lesson is we were all farmers once. And if any of you had pretty gardens and you grew fun things, you can maybe write a story or draw some pictures and share those with us. This is a story that God's people told about the beginning of the world. And in this story, they wanted to tell us why we were farmers. They wanted to tell us why being farmers kept them alive and why farmers keep everyone alive. Long ago, God made the very first person who ever lived. God took the thickest, richest, darkest soil from the ground, and he shaped the soil into someone who looks just like you and me. And then God breathed God's own breath into that person. And the first person took the first breath ever. And then in the same best, richest, thickest, darkest soil that God made the first person from, God planted a big farm. God planted the most beautiful fruit trees and the biggest golden fields of grain. And then God said to the first farmer, "Be good to the rich soil that I made you from. Farm it carefully. Grow the best fields and orchards that you can. All your food will come from them, and you'll need that food to stay alive." Pretty soon God thought, wait, one farmer can't do all that work alone. So from the same best, richest, darkest, thickest soil, God made all the farm animals to help the farmer. God made the big oxen to carry heavy loads, sheep and goats for wool and for milk. God even made dogs and cats to keep the farmer company. And then God decided this was a good time to go ahead and make all the wild animals too. So God did that. Pretty soon God thought again about, wait a minute, we need a family. Just one person with all these animals? It's not good. That'll never work. So God made another person, and then the world had two parents who could start a family and work on their farm together. Long ago, all families were farmers. They grew all the food they ate on their own farms. Today, most families aren't farmers. But here's the thing, all of the food that we eat and that our family eats, farmers somewhere have grown for us. Do you know who they are? Do you know where their farms are? We have some farms around here, and sometimes we go and visit them to see the animals or to pick fruit. And right now, maybe some of you go and visit and get pumpkins from the pumpkin patch, and they may have a farmer's stand there where they're selling other vegetables or fruits and things. So think about that. And also, another fun thing before I leave, think about eating food and the sounds it makes and the beautiful colors that it looks. You crunch an apple, you crunch celery, you crunch carrots, maybe crackers, Maybe potato chips too. And some things are smooth and sweet, and other things are hard. So every now and then, when you get ready to eat something, think about where it came from and how it got to you, and how it's also helping you grow and be strong and healthy. And with that, I'm going to say, I love you. Have a good week. Bye.
Hello, friends. I wanted to read you a story as part of this week's Sunday school lesson, and I apologize that it's coming out late. We had some technological issues, but I'm sure you're enjoying Miss Mary and the Sunday school lesson she's guiding you through. And part of that lesson, it's called We Were All Farmers Once, made me think about this story called Stone Soup. Now, I don't know if it comes across backwards like it shows up on my screen, but I'm going to read this story to you in case you've not heard it before. Stone Soup. Here's the picture. And it says, "I'm tired," whined Molly. "I'm hungry." "Don't worry," said Max. "Our troubles are over. Look, I see a little village just a few miles away." "But we don't know anyone there," said Molly. Max thought for a moment. He said, "You're right. But maybe some friendly villagers live there. Maybe they'll give us something to eat and a place to rest." "Yes," said Molly. "Most people are kind. Let's go." What Molly and Max didn't know is that these villagers weren't kind. They were stingy and mean. "Eek!" shouted Mr. and Mrs. Ratfink. "Eek!" shrieked their little baby too. "Strangers are coming!" yelled Mr. Ratfink. "They'll want us to share what we have with them." "Eek!" squealed baby Ratfink. "Let's hide our food. Let's close our shops," said the butcher. The town banker hid his money. He put a sign on the bank, "Closed." The village innkeeper hid his room keys. He put a sign on the hotel, "No room." The farmer's wife hid the garden vegetables. She closed the door and shuttered the windows. The townspeople hid carrots and corn. They hid potatoes and peas. They hid beans and broccoli, onions and herbs, milk and meat. Soon there was not one bit of food in sight. All the villagers practiced looking hungry. But by the time Molly and Max reached the village, there was no one around. "Where is everybody?" asked Molly. "They're probably inside having lunch," reasoned Max. "Can't you smell something delicious?" "Yes," said Molly. "It's coming from that house over there. The door is even opened a crack." "Maybe they saw us coming and are waiting for us," said Max hopefully. But when Molly and Max got to the door, it slammed shut. "Go away!" shouted a voice from behind the door. Molly and Max walked up to the man who was crossing the street. "Excuse me, sir," said Molly. "Could you please help us? We've been traveling a long time. We could use a hot meal and a place to sleep." "Forget it," said the man in a gruff voice. Molly and Max knocked on every door. They stopped everyone who passed them, but the answers were always the same. "No food, no room, go away." "What are we going to do?" asked Molly. "No one here can help us." "I have a feeling that no one here wants to help us," said Max. "I think these people have hearts of stone." "Hey," said Molly, That gives me an idea. Molly whispered her idea to Max. Then they rang the village bell. Boing, boing, boing went the bell. All the townspeople came running. "What's going on here?" grumbled Mr. Ratfink. "We only ring the bell when there's an emergency." "Eek!" screeched Baby Ratfink. "There is an emergency," Max told everyone. "There's no food in this town." "So now is the time to make stone soup," said Molly. "Stone soup? I've never heard of it," said the farmer's wife. "Of course you haven't heard of it," said Molly. "It's a secret recipe." "But we'll share the recipe with you just the same," said Max. "Then we'll all have something to eat, and none of us will be hungry." "Well," said the villagers impatiently, "what do we do first?" Molly answered, "Heat some water in a pot." When that was done, the villagers said, "What's next?" Max answered, "Add some stones. You've scrubbed a lot." Now the townspeople were really curious. Surely this was the strangest recipe they had ever heard. They waited while Molly dipped her spoon into the steaming pot. They watched as she tasted the soup. She said, "Stone soup is very good plain. But it would taste even better if we could make the fancy kind." "How do we do that?" asked the mayor. "Sprinkle pepper, salt, and herbs," said Molly. "Let it boil undisturbed." "I have those things," said the mayor's wife. "I'll be right back." She hurried back with her pocket full of herbs and spices. "Oh, thank you," said Molly as she added the seasonings to the soup. "What's next?" asked the mayor's wife. "Drop in carrots and onions, too. Let the soup heat through and through," said Molly. "But we'll just have to do without the carrots and onions," she sighed. "I have those things," said the farmer's wife. "I'll be right back." She came back with a sack bulging with carrots and onions. "Oh, thank you," said Molly as she added them to the soup. "What's next?" asked the farmer's wife. Molly replied, "Stir in milk to make it sweet. Add potatoes for a treat." With milk and potatoes, it would be so much better. "I have milk," said the butcher's wife, "and the banker's wife has potatoes. We'll be right back." The butcher's wife returned with 2 buckets brimming with milk. The banker's wife came back with a basket full of potatoes. "Oh, thank you," said Molly as she added them to the soup. "What's next?" asked the banker's wife. Max replied, "Toss in meat cubes, let it stew, let it bubble, let it brew." "Too bad we don't have any meat," sighed Molly. "I know where to get some," said the butcher excitedly. "I'll be right back." A short time later, the butcher returned with a huge chunk of meat, which he quickly chopped into pieces. "Oh, thank you," said Molly as she stirred the meat pieces into the boiling pot. "What's next?" asked the butcher. "The best part," said Molly. "Taste the soup, and when it's done, serve stone soup to everyone." "Yay!" cheered the mayor. "It's time to taste the soup." He snatched up a spoonful of soup and tasted it. "This is the most delicious soup I've ever had," said the mayor. "And to think that it's made with nothing but stones and water. Amazing!" "It's time to serve stone soup," announced the mayor. But the townspeople had more than just soup. They also had fruit and bread, salad and cider, cakes and pies. They ate and laughed and danced long into the night. And when the feast was over, The innkeeper asked Molly and Max to stay in his finest room. The next morning, everyone waved goodbye to Molly and Max. "How can we thank you for the secret recipe?" they called out. "Share stone soup with everyone," sung the travelers. Isn't that great? They all shared what they had. They just needed somebody to get them started. So maybe you can be one of the first people to share what you have, and then other people will share what they have, and you'll realize that everyone has plenty. I love this story. I hope you do too.